Peace, peace. This is Anpu with another video on Question Everything. And this will be video number 2. I'm breaking down some stuff that's in the Bible. So basically this segment will be basically based on religion. So part number 1 video was basically breaking it down. Where how religion pretty much controls, and people don't really pay attention to what they're reading. And I'm just gonna go into this stuff, and I'm still in Genesis. Now Genesis is a very deep book. Now there's many different codes and things to decode in the Bible. And like I said before, the Bible has truth to it. I mean, it could be very confusing for some individuals that don't understand what they're reading. Now, in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, I mean, if y'all want to stop the video and go grab your Bible if you have a Bible, and then you can go check this out yourself. I'm reading off the King James Version. This is the King James Version is pretty much the closest to the original Hebrew scrolls. Now, it's funny because you have other Bibles out there with different crazy names, and they kind of like mistranslate certain verses. You know, they play the words different. I mean, I had a sister that I know that had a Bible, and it wasn't no King James Version. It was some other, I forgot the name of it, and I knew a verse off the top of my head, and I recited to her, and I said, "What's in that? What's in your book?" And in her book, in her Bible, it says something totally different, and I was just like, "Wow! See, this is what I be talking about. The translations be all messed up, and now they coming out with these new, Bibles with weird names on them, and they be switching the words up." So basically, all I'm doing is just reading off the Bible. I don't want to offend anybody. I just want to bring people to consciousness, and just see what's just really break this down together. And this type of method, what brought me to consciousness, and me and my good friend Thorth and my good friend Isis, aka Hathor. This is what we used to do. We used to read the Bible, and come to the table with it and be like, "Wow, did you catch this? Did you catch that?" Underline and highlight. I mean, I'm pretty sure you probably can't. I don't know if you could really see, but you see, I got a lot of stuff highlighted and underlined, and I does this. I research this type of stuff, and I go in depth. The last video I did, I spoke about how God in the Hebrew Bible is the Elohim. It says that in the beginning, the Elohim created the heavens and earth. And Elohim is a plural word meaning more than one. And that's why I was saying I need something to think about, question everything. If there's more than one, then who are these gods with an S, not singular? Okay, so this is why I'm trying to break down pretty much the translations, and people don't catch certain things. And here in Genesis, you could tell that it's been written by a man, because it has so many mistakes, and you catch it and you're like, wow. But they say it's inspired by God. Now, if I was to say God came to me and told me to write this book, and I gave it a fancy name, and I throw it out there and say, hey, this is inspired by God, y'all need to read this and follow this, who would believe me? People would be like, this dude is crazy. What is he talking about? So, but people take this stuff, and they live by this day by day. So in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, it reads, "And the earth was without form and void. The darkness was upon the face of the deep." Now, let's think about that. Now, the earth was without form, and and void, meaning that the whole entire planet was basically underwater. Underwater. So this here is telling you about pretty much the first flood of the whole entire planet. Not Noah, not Noah's Ark situation. People think that the Noah's Ark situation was the very, very first flood. But you have to understand this was the flood at this time. You know what I'm saying? Because the earth is billions of years old. Billions of years old. So that's something you gotta think about. And they always say, nothing is new under the sun. So pretty much it's underwater and is in darkness, right? And in the first verse, I mean the first chapter, it pretty much talks about the first creation, which is like light. So now if you read here, it says on the chapter 1 verse 2 it still reads, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So this telling you that this was a watery planet. Watery planet. Now let's question that. You see, the ancients, they called Earth Key, or what's the other name? Which key meaning water. So, but we call it Earth. Now, why would you call the planet Earth? Earth meaning ground, land. When this planet is made up of mostly water. You feel what I'm saying? So this shit just don't make sense. See, I'm a type of person, like, you speak to me and when you come with me with some type of knowledge, or you try to push something on me, you gotta make sense with me. It gotta make sense. And most of this stuff just don't add up. And so the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So this is showing you whoever was witnessing this was in the water, watching the Creator come across, floating across the top of the water. So this is telling you that there were beings already here. Already here. Like I said, this planet is billions of years old. There's no telling how old this planet is. So there's no telling what type of uh, beings was on this planet that was happening in this planet at that time. So who was witnessing this? That's something that we gotta think about. That's something we gotta question. Who was witnessing the Spirit of God move upon the face of the waters? Pretty much, you could just visualize, him moving, or they moving, you know, across on the surface of the water, and there's beings under looking up. Because when the way how you read the stories, it doesn't sound like someone that's from above looking down and speaking about the creation. So it sounds like someone that's already here looking up. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that you got to question. What's going on here? Let's figure this out. So, and people, they think, oh, beings, living on the planet, or beings from outer space, they think that's something bizarre. But I mean, you gotta think about it, man. If you understand how vast this universe is, how can you not, believe that there's life outside of this one planet? I mean, there are, in our galaxy alone, it's of billions and billions of stars. The Milky Way is filled with suns and and planets. NASA just came forward and said they discovered 1,000 Earth-like planets. 1,000. So it's like, how are we alone on this one little planet? It doesn't make sense. But people who are so caught up in religion, they don't want to think outside the box, because if it's not mentioned in this book, it doesn't resonate with them. It doesn't resonate with them. You know what I'm saying? So that's like, why would the Creator create this one planet with only life on this one planet, right? But then created other universes, all of galaxies, and there's billions of galaxies besides our galaxy. Why create galaxies that are so far away that we will never see? What's the purpose of that? You see what I'm saying? What is the purpose of that? That's like saying, I'm gonna build me a ginormous building with 100 floors, and on each floor there's 20 apartments. So I only built this big ginormous building with 100 floors and 20 apartments on each floor, but I only moved in one family. One family only lives in this entire building. So what is the purpose for the rest of the floors, and what is the purpose for the rest of the rooms that no one is living in? You see, that's how you guys start thinking. It's like if you understand, the numbers, I don't think people grasp that how much a billion is. How much is it? And now you talk about there's our galaxy, and then there's a billion galaxies like us, and you trying to tell me that we are the only ones here? But you got technology that catch this on camera every day, UFO sightings. But when people start speaking about it, they think you crazy, only because they probably haven't witnessed it themselves. And I'm not knocking that, but you have to just think logically. You got to think like a scientist. You got to think of the possibilities. Don't just knock it. Now here in Genesis is speaking of someone witnessing the Creator coming across the water. Okay, now that's that. Now let me see what else we're going to get into. So what I found funny is that, like, a mistake that I found was in chapter 1. We're still on Genesis now. On chapter 1, verse 12, right? It reads, "And the earth brought forth grass, and yielding seeds after its kind, and a tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after its kind. And God saw it, and it was good." I mean, even when you read it, it's like Shakespeare. You know what I'm saying? It's like weird. So a lot of people be reading it. They just be reading it. They don't really understand what the hell they're reading. So basically, the Creator created plant life. Created plants, herbs, and trees that produce fruits with seeds in them so it could reproduce. Okay? Now that was chapter 1, verse 12. Now, when you go down to verse 16, it says, "And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And he also made stars." So my question is, how you create fruits, trees, herbs, and the plant life without the sun? I mean, that's just basic elementary science. That's stuff that you teach little kids in elementary school when you teach them about how a plant is made, what makes a plant grow. You can't have no plant growing without the sun. You can have all the soil and all the water in the world. You're not growing no damn plant without no sun, because you need that photosynthesis. I mean, this is basics. So how in verse 12, the Creator made all these herbs and trees and stuff, but then in verse 16, then he made the sun. But then it's crazy because it made a mistake, because let me find it first. Okay. So then in chapter 1, verse 3, "And God said, let there be light, and there was light." Verse 4, "And God saw the light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness." Verse 5, "And God called the light day, and the darkness he called light. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Now that was verse 5. So then why in verse 16 is pretty much repeating the same thing, and God made two lights, and a greater light to rule the day, and a lesser light to rule the night. You see, these are the mistakes that people don't be catching. This is showing you that this is written by a man, but they claim that it is a man. This is written, inspired by God. So this don't make no sense. You see, this is what I say. Question everything. Question everything, because the answers is right in your face. I mean, it's in the book. And we didn't even go far into the book. This is just the beginning of the creation, which the gods, more than one, was doing and creating. If they were doing the creating, who was doing the writing? Who was jotting all this down while all this was going down? Okay? Now this is, my question. And so basically, God created whales and the sea creatures and the birds. So throughout all this creation, then he created the beast. And God made the beast. This is verse 25. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and the cattle and all that. So before man wasn't even made, you had the herbs and the trees first, then you had the whales and the fish second, and then you had the beasts and the insects and all that last. All these things was created before man. Before man. Okay? And that's when you go to verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. You see what I'm saying? Now, if you don't really understand that, you won't understand. It's so confusing. What are you talking about? What is you talking about? Now, if you just sit there and ask somebody, what does that verse means? You see what I'm saying? But we're going to go back into, 26. And God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the seas, and over the fowls of the air, and over the cattle, and all over the earth, and over every creeping thing that crept upon the earth. Dominion. People don't understand. Dominion is meaning, we have the right to rule over all these things. But these things were created before us, according to the scripture, to what we read in here. So, we have dominion over this. It's like we could chop all the trees down. We could do what we want, eat the animals, whatever. But it never says eat animals in here, which is kind of crazy, because in verse 29 of chapter 1, we're still on Genesis, chapter 1, verse 29, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, in which upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. So basically, the meats that we're supposed to be eating are the fruits. The fruits is considered the meats, not the animals, pretty much. So, these things we got to question. Where did these lights come from? And also, it says, and God created two lights, going back to verse 16, chapter 1, verse 16. And God made two lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. The greater light to rule the day will mean the sun, right? I mean, can't explain it no simpler than that. The lesser light will rule the night, meaning the moon. But the mistake is that the moon don't give off light. It doesn't have light of its own. That's something you gotta understand. That's something we gotta think about and question. The moon don't give off light. It reflects light. You see, the moon gets its light from the sun. Okay? And right after that, it says, He made the stars also. He made the stars also. I mean, the last time I checked, the sun is a star, and stars are suns. You feel what I'm saying? And I mean, you could just tell that it's like, who wrote this? Oh, King James wrote this. King James version. So this is his version of pretty much the creation. You know what I'm saying? I think I'm gonna stop right there. Keep it. I'm gonna keep it short. I don't want to go too deep, so I want y'all to go back and just check those out. Just check those out and see for yourself. I didn't write it. I'm not making this up. This is the King James version. No, I'm just reading. I'm just reading. See, this is what certain people don't do. They don't know how to read, and they don't take the time to break this stuff down and really truly understand it. Truly understand it. I mean, because my opinion, the Bible, the stories is basically based upon astrology. You know, on a deeper level. That's pretty much what I think the Bible is pretty much based on. It's on astrology. You know, I mean, it's like, how can you explain these, these great stories in simple form? And they give him, they give these, you know, these stories, they give them personalities like people. So the less thinkers could grasp it more. It's like the same thing when we do astrology, when you're doing the zodiac signs. You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you explain this zodiac sign? How can you explain? And the zodiac signs is basically based on suns, stars, and the line and how they lined up. So you would give it animal characteristics to better explain, what it truly means. You know what I'm saying? You got the Pisces, it's a fish. You know, you got the Virgo the Virgin, Capricorn. Half goat, half fish. A Taurus. You got the bull. So it's like you gotta, what they try to do is break this stuff down in simpler form. And this is why you can't take everything in the Bible literally. But there's truth in it. There is truth in it, there's hidden truth in it. But you gotta catch that. You gotta catch these things. I mean, Genesis, man, I done read it over and over and over again. I just kept finding new things all the time. So just take the time and just break it down, and you'll see what I'm saying. But go over these verses, and you'll see for yourself. And if you missed it, just keep rewind it back, and you catch that. And after that, we're gonna go into the next video. I'm probably gonna go into the creation of Adam and Eve and the whole she ate from the tree and all this craziness. All right, but I'm gonna leave on this note. Say peace, and if those are watching, thank you again. And Hotep, this is Anpu Ra. Question everything. Peace.